This is Synchronicity.
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 Welcome to Synchronicity. I'm recording an intro to a solo cast because I have imagined a perfect state of narcissism. No, that's not why I'm doing this one. This episode is about spiritual business practices, how to ethically generate financial security for yourself, which is a very touchy subject for a lot of reasons because it sounds like highfalutin bullshit, number one. But number two, I put out a tweet. Let's read the tweet because oh God, I'm reading tweets on a podcast now. It has happened. The singularity is imminent. What did I tweet though? This is a very professional operation I'm running. I said, hi, would you like to change your entire reality and discover who you actually are? Great. Here's a technique that costs no money. Don't let anyone charge you money to discover who you are. So that's kind of like a bombastic tweet. And let me explain what I meant by it is that when you fully get this principle and understand that if you aspire to have wealth or abundance, you learn how to appropriate the state imaginally. This sounds so silly, I know. And then you live from that state and lo and behold, it happens. And that can manifest in this reality and unfold in this reality is a better way of putting it, not manifest, in a lot of different ways. And the ways it unfolds is limited by our imagination and our imagination alone, because that creates reality. So this tweet, I put it out. I wasn't thinking it was totally like, it was somewhat firing shots, which I should have known better because if I'm firing shots, who am I firing shots at? Myself. And my good friend Juliana, who was just on, McCarthy, who does astrology readings, hit me up and was like, listen, I got to pay the bills. That's why I charge for readings. And I was like, that's totally fair. You're the last person I was thinking of. I've been sending her tons of people just because I think what she does is so particularly potent. So it gave me an opportunity to examine what I meant by the tweet, what the intention behind it was, and also her very valid points that the exchange of money and energy can truthfully be a powerful kind of motivator and kind of catalyst for people taking something seriously and accepting it. That's a really good point, and I think I overlooked that. Now, ultimately, I think I am not going to charge for the imaginal stuff because I don't need to, but that's because I figured out another way to make money. But if I did, I guess I shouldn't throw stones at people who are choosing to do it a different way. I think if that begins to consume you and the psychosis of wealth, as Manly P. Hall would put it, takes over, that's obviously an issue. But if you're trying to raise money and have financial security so you can do something awesome, like have a communal property where you're dedicating yourself to the land and a community of people, that's fucking great. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, what I do mean is that I stand by the tweet in this sense. Soon, many people who are here to heal the world, to truly help people, are going to have both the internal and external resources to do that. That is an undeniable fact. I am aware of several mechanisms that will make this happen by Bitcoin. And essentially, this is happening. It's already beginning to happen. When that happens, the way we offer healing services will shift dramatically. We're not going to have to plug it into this financial world the way we did, right? If I have $1 billion right now, do I? If I do I need to charge people for anything? No. But if I think I don't, then I do. And this is a tricky thing, and I'm not suggesting not charging people right off the bat unless you're very secure in this principle, but you would probably think about things differently. This is always just a good question to ask yourself, even if you don't believe in any of the imaginal stuff, is what would I do if I had all the money in the world? What would I do if I had everything I ever wanted? What would I do? That'll lead you to a deeper, probably more profound, probably more connected desire, which truthfully is the point of this. So just try to operate from that space as much as possible. It will unfold. I know everyone who's doing genuine healing work and like helping people truthfully, you good. You good. We're building an arc of love. There's plenty of money around a road. What is it? Gently. What is it? Jesus Christ. I forgot. Row your boat. Merrily, merrily, merrily. That's what I was trying to say. Anyway, merrily, merrily, merrily. Life is but a dream. That's all I'm saying. So this is the intro to the episode, if you can imagine. Holy shit, it's a lot of talking. But I love it, and I love you, and we'll be together in love soon. Don't worry. All right, bye-bye. We're getting pretty nuts with how many episodes there are. I'm completely aware of that, but there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of problems in the world. A lot of people have issues. A lot of people don't know what to do. And I found some stuff you can do. So wouldn't it be kind of a dick move if I didn't share it? I think so. So that's why I'm sharing it. So today we're going to talk about business, professional spheres and realms, and how they can be sticky places for even genuinely open-minded, compassionate, well-intentioned, aspirational people. It can still be such a sticky situation for so many. A lot of it having to do with money, ego, drive, passion. All of these things get filtered into our idea of what success looks like related to the professional sphere. So what do we do? How are we going to move into a world where greed and scarcity don't dominate, how our economic and world resource system works? How do we do that? These are big questions, and I'm the type of dude who's going to tell you some answers. So let's go back to our good truth, our friend that our imagination, your imagination, creates reality. It precedes materiality. If this is true, and we can test it with the operative technique that I've provided many episodes ago, Imaginal Techniques 1, what does this allow us to do? Well, the first thing it allows us to do is bring in the resources we need without harming anyone. And you may say, well, Noah, how can that be if you're making money? Let's use a very specific example. I do a lot of work on a computer. I use a MacBook Pro. It is an expensive computer. It is something that the resources needed to manufacture it and get it to me, it goes through a lot of not great stuff. They're extracting precious rare minerals and elements from the ground. There are people who are potentially working in sweatshops. Hello, Foxconn for Apple. There's a lot of karmic baggage that goes on to get me a computer that I use to upload podcasts, put out talks that help people. So how do we reconcile the karmic implications of bringing a computer into my life with my imagination and making sure I'm not putting more misery and suffering into the world? Well, this is a technique that won't feel right for some, especially if you have a high degree of kind of ethical, moral righteousness. This may take you a little longer to understand, but when you use your imagination, when you use it lovingly, whatever manifests from there is meant to happen, and it happens in a loving way. Don't try to understand it. Don't try to wrap your human individual identity, existence, conception around it, because that's not the mechanism at play. What's really happening when you imagine something is you're tapping into who you really are. And you're really God. You're really source. You're really all of this stuff. And I know it sounds new agey, and I know it sounds weird, and I know people don't want to believe that, but it's true. And when you tap into it and fully recognize it and realize there are things you can do to actually utilize you being God, a lot of stuff changes. Now, again, keep in mind that what makes all of this work, truthfully, this process of awakening, remembering who you are, being who you are, turning into the best version of yourself, this is all underpinned by love. That is the essence of all of this. You will understand that. But what that should do is provide you with the confidence and the clarity to pursue what you love and dream of, even if it maybe seems wrong. Again, don't murder people. Don't rape people. Don't do fucked up shit, okay? But pretty much anything else within the realm of your desires, it's okay to pursue it. I give you permission. Trust me, you can do it. It's not going to harm anyone. It's not going to hurt anyone. The amount of good that comes into this world from me having this computer, trust me, it outweighs anything that has done. And you may say that's delusional. You may say it's excuse making. You may say it's something just to justify something you want. So you're making the world a worse place by doing that. If you believe that, that's okay. But it is not true. And you will see that it is not true when you wake up to who you really are. So I want to, again, tie this back into the idea of business. So what happens in the business world? As many of you know, I used to work behind the scenes in the spiritual world, the nonprofit. It's probably more of a metaphor and allegory than I realized. But I used to work with some very large spiritual organizations around the country and teachers, very prominent, well-known teachers. And I got a behind the scenes look at a lot of these people and a lot of what their motivations, fears, doubts, worries, concerns, anxieties are. And it was surprising to see because a lot of people in that world are preaching things like meditation and things to get more in touch with yourself and clarity and calm yourself down. But then when you get to know them, you see that they don't really have it figured out either. And that's okay. Not everyone's supposed to have it figured out. But then the question arises, does anyone have it figured out? Is there a better way to be? Is there something that can actually get people to be the best versions of themselves? And the answer is yes. But a lot of people don't know that. So let's first look at business through the lens of spirituality. And I want to make this really clear. And I know I have friends who make money from this world. And I know I have people I really care about and like who do stuff in this world. And I'm not being pejorative. But I will say that anyone who has decided that they have something to share and that they understand maybe some deeper mysteries of the universe and the world and reality, who chooses to make money from sharing those their personal experience of what it is misapprehending how this really works. You can make money from sharing wisdom. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're gating it, if you're keeping it from people, if you're not openly sharing it, you're not doing it right because you can do both. And this is where we start to move into this world of new business practices, new ways of dealing with each other economically, fiscally, just being more egalitarian. Very soon in this life, it will become apparent that anyone who needs any financial help, I will be able to help them. I'm not just going to give people fishes. I will teach them how to fish too. But I realize the stressors of money and finances is just a burden. And it makes people do things they don't really want to do. They violate their true nature because they feel that they have to survive to do this. So in the future, this is what is likely to happen is we're going to see people who essentially recognize that their imagination creates reality and start setting up some businesses and systems that everyone can prosper. Win-win-wins, right? The people who set up the business win, the people who are the end, people who get the services win, and everyone who participates either tangentially or specifically will win. And I know that sounds far-fetched and I know it sounds crazy, but you will see it will happen. And these things will be directed at pretty big events, pretty big disturbances in our world. We have a lot of work to do ecologically. We have a lot of work to do personally and with people around the world, what we're doing to each other. Again, you can't start there. I know it seems tempting to. You want to start at the problem, but you have to start within yourself first. That's just how it works. And I tell you that because if you try to go out into the world and enact and affect large-scale change and you don't have your shit worked out, at least to a sufficient degree, a pretty high degree, you're going to cause more trouble for yourself and for other people. That is just how it works because, again, everything is you. I know that seems weird. How can I be you? How can this other person be you? How can Donald Trump be you, for fuck's sake? But it is true. And when you understand it, what a relief. What a relief. You start to recognize that everything out there is just you and giving you a nice opportunity to deal with your shit. How amazing is that? And then you can really be yourself. And then you can be secure and love and trust and all of these things that you know you want to do, but the world has maybe beaten out of you or you've been told that's not how it works. I assure you, and I promise you, you will understand this. It will become apparent to you sooner than you think. I know I sound overly confident, overly ambitious, overly broad, and I get that. Trust me, it only comes from direct experience. Take it from someone who encountered this state of consciousness for an extended period of time, lost it for an even longer period of time, and then slowly scaled the mountain. Slowly, 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 not even knowing what I was doing most of the time. And then finally got to the top of the mountain again. And I'm telling you, the view is fucking spectacular. And you will get it. I promise you. I know you hear it in my voice. Do I sound like I'm lying? Do I sound like I have something to pitch you that's going to make me money or make me better? No, this is for you. I'm sharing it. I'm putting out so many episodes because I finally fucking get it now. And what an amazing thing when you get it, because again, you can be who you actually are. And Carl Jung said it best, right? The privilege of a lifetime is becoming who you are. That doesn't make sense until you know you are who you're supposed to be. And of course, you can still grow. And I want to make one other point. When you discover that you are God, when you discover that you are everything, you don't stop being you. I still like the same. If you think I'm not watching the Miami Dolphins this year lose a bunch of games, gosh, listen, when the Miami Dolphins win the Super Bowl, you'll know I've mastered this shit. But if you think I don't care about the same stuff that I cared about before, yes, things shift. I'm not eating food like I used to anymore. I don't emotionally eat anymore. It's pretty fucking great, I'll tell you. But you don't drop your identity. You don't merge into unity consciousness and cease to be you. We don't do that here. We do that after we die, if we want. Here, we play, we learn, we grow, we help, and we love. That's literally what we are here for. I cannot say it any more clearly. So again, let's go over the technique again, because I feel like some of you may have forgotten. I know I have to revisit sometimes just to prep myself and prime myself. And I want to also just be clear. Don't think that I have ascended to this holy state and I don't have doubts and fears that pop up. That's specifically why I talk about this stuff, because I want you to know that I'm a person going through things. And as I go through them, as I internally work through them, I want to share how I did it. I know that's why I'm going through them and I accept it. But this is basically it. Like, we're good. We're totally fucking good. Everything is great. You're going to be great. There's nothing to worry about. Just buckle up. Hold on to someone you love. Find someone you love and hold on to them, because there's a flood coming. It's not a real flood. It is a real flood, but it's not a physical flood. But the waters of our unconscious, our collective unconscious, our individual unconsciouses, it is coming, and it is going to be a deluge. And people who do not understand this operative principle are going to be in for some rough times. So here's what we're doing. And I read this freaked me out last night. I got this William Blake book because Neville Goddard was talking about him. So I'm reading this Blake dictionary and I'm flipping through. And I was like, oh, I wonder if there's anything about Noah. I wonder if Blake ever mentioned Noah. And so Blake did mention Noah. And this is what Blake said about Noah. You want to really just freak yourself out sometime. Read some William Blake. Noah built an ark not for a biblical flood of water, but for the waters of the unconscious. And he used his imagination to build an ark of love. And I'm telling you, this is what's happening. You may think it's delusions of grandeur. You may think it's a Messiah complex. I tell you, this is what I am doing. This is what we're all doing. You're all welcome on the ark. Way more than 2 of each kind. You can, infinite. This is an infinite ark of love. This is what's happening. It's fucking beautiful. It's amazing. Hang in there if things get difficult. It's okay. So let's review the technique. Here's what you do if you want to start fixing your life. And again, I will give a word of caution. This will turn your life upside down. I cannot say that enough. It will radically transform every aspect of your life, of your consciousness. And you need to be ready for that, because if you're not and you open this door, you can't close it. You've opened it up. You're opening Pandora's box, but the chaos is good chaos. So here's the technique. The first thing you do is you find the thing you truly desire and long for and wish for in your deepest part of being. Now, if that's too difficult, just find something you really want that you know you want. It can be material, it can be immaterial, it can be anything. So after you find that, you're going to get into a drowsy state. An optimal time to do this is before sleeping, because you do it every night. You get into this liminal boundary between going to sleep and actually sleeping. And in this state, you are going to construct a scene that implies what you wanted, what you desired, what you wished for has already been fulfilled. So it's going to be a scene after this thing that you desire has been fulfilled. It's going to be an imaginal scene in your imagination. You're going to create it. It's going to be a short, compact scene that you load with sensory vividness. So let's do a super shortcut. If you want to do this, join me. A scene that's really helpful, especially if you have a lot of things you desire, is imagine a state of consciousness, right? Imagine ecstasy. Imagine being in a state of ecstasy. The reason we choose ecstasy is it basically prevents other negative, quote unquote, states from coming in, right? It prevents depression, anxiety, fear, doubt. Those things are not involved when you're in ecstasy. They're mutually exclusive, right? So if that's the case, by imagining a scene that implies ecstasy, it could be as simple as you standing in your kitchen holding like a table or a counter and just imagining yourself in ecstatic bliss and saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my God, I didn't know it could be like this. Whatever, pick your poison, whatever one you want. You're going to construct this scene and load it with as much loving emotion, awe, wonder as possible. And you're going to just keep going back to this scene over and over. Every time your mind wanders and drifts, snap it back to this scene. You're going to live there. And that is what's going to happen, right? You're just going to keep doing this, keep doing it. And then eventually you'll drift off to sleep if you're doing it at night, or you can wake up. A good way of knowing if you're doing this right during the day is if you're doing it and you open your eyes and you feel like you just traveled like a really long way, you did pretty good. You did pretty good. You pulled, and let's just finish the technique. After you're done with it, you then don't take any extra steps in the world to make what you desired happen, because you will build a bridge of incidents and you'll say, oh, this is why it happened, X, Y, and Z. And that's not what happened. Your imagination structured reality to conform with yourself. So let's talk a little bit about what's actively going on when we do this. Let's put on our new age caps. What's really going on is we're accessing higher dimensional states of consciousness. People who have taken psychedelics, I've never done DMT. But if you have, I know a lot of people get blasted off into this fractal kind of mechanical world. There's machine elves, who knows what's there. These are real realities, but there's also an infinite dimensional reality that we have access to at any time. And what we're essentially doing with our imaginal acts is finding and selecting the version of reality that we want in this world, pulling it in, identifying it, locking it into ourselves with love, and then letting it unfold in this world. Now, what can prevent it from unfolding in this world is if we think this is just a delusion or a trick, or some crazy guy on a podcast is telling you to do some weird thing while you're closing your eyes. That's not what's going on. If you can deny the world of your senses, deny your doubts and fears and other threshold guardians, you will achieve what you want. I guarantee it. It is inevitable. It happens. And just to be clear, I have something I've been imagining for, oh boy, a month or so, and this is the hardest thing I've ever imagined, and I will not share this one. It's that important to me, but I've been imagining it, and it fades, and it comes, and then I lock into the place where I know it's true, and I know that even if this thing if it's denied in reality, it's true, and it will happen. That's the level of faith and confidence you want to have when you start living from that place. Oh man, and I'm telling you, I just know this. The harder it is to imagine, the more difficult the resistance is initially. Once you achieve it, that level of satisfaction is just, and fulfillment, just buckle up. That's all I'm saying. So that's the technique. Again, business, relationships, they're all going to start being imbued with the level of consciousness. They already are, but when we move to higher states of consciousness, when we move to the reality that we have plenty, there's enough. We don't have to fight. We don't have to share. We don't have to share. We don't have to not share. We don't have to be possessive. We don't have to be jealous. we can be secure in the knowing that our love sustains and upholds everything here, then we're doing good. And that time is not far away. Trust me when I say that it is not far away. I wish I was just drugged out, blissed out, and sharing nonsense with you guys. I don't wish that, obviously. But no, this is true. It is happening. I'm glad you found this podcast. I'm glad you found this episode. I'm glad you found me. I'm glad I found you. And it's just going to be a beautiful unfolding of a lot of cool stuff. Stay vigilant, stay patient, hang in there. Do not get overwhelmed by the suffering of the world. It is your suffering projected outwards. It will be alleviated. I promise you that. So join me on this arc of love, and we'll have a great time together. That's it for this episode, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.